Okay, I'm back. So, Judges, it's chapter 6 and 11 onward deals with Gideon. So, this is interesting. Let me turn the light up. This is interesting as its own story. So, I'm going to do this. Okay, so in verse 11, now the angel of the Lord came and sat under the terebinth tree, which was in Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abiezrite. Yeah. Okay. While his son Gideon threshed wheat in the winepress in order to hide it from the Midianites. They had to hide their food because they were that oppressed. They would come and raid all their food and stuff. So they had to be sneaky and hide their food. And that's why they were doing this. Okay. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, "The Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor." Gideon said to him, "O my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all his miracles which our fathers told us about, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites." Then the Lord turned to him and said, "Go in this might of yours, and you shall save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent you?" So he said to him, "O my Lord, how can I save Israel? Indeed, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house." And the Lord said to him, "Surely I will be with you, and you shall defeat the Midianites as one man." And it's interesting because this kind of a pattern comes up a lot where God chooses the least likely, the weakest one, the least likely hero, and then turns them into this big triumphant warrior, so it's pretty neat. Okay. Then he said to him, "If now I have found favor in your sight, then show me a sign that it is you who talk with me. Do not depart from here, I pray, until I come to you and bring out my offering and set it before you." And he said, "I will wait until you come back." Okay. So this part just goes on with the offering. He brings some meat and some bread. That's there. And then here, he had it. He ate it. Okay. All right. And now Gideon perceived that he was the angel of the Lord. So Gideon said, it says, the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight. So he must have just disappeared after he ate this. Okay. So Gideon said, "Alas, O Lord God, for I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face." And they would worry about that. So then the Lord said to him, "Peace be with you. Do not fear. You shall not die." So Gideon built an altar there to the Lord and called it, "The Lord is Peace." To this day, it is still in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. Now it came to pass the same night that the Lord said to him, this gets good. Okay, here we go. "Take your father's young bull, the second bull of 7 years old, and tear down the altar of Baal that your father has, and cut down the wooden image that is beside it, and build an altar to the Lord your God on top of this rock in the proper arrangement, and take the second bull and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of the image which you shall cut down." So I guess they were using the wood of the idol for the log for the fire, something like that. So Gideon took 10 men from among his servants and did as the Lord said to him. But because he feared his father's household and the men of the city too much to do it by day, he did it by night. Okay, so he does this. And then here. And this kind of thing happens quite a bit. All right, and when the men of the city arose early in the morning, there was the altar of Baal. There was the altar of Baal torn down, and the wooden image that was beside it was cut down, and the second bull was being offered on the altar which had been built. Yeah. So they said to one another, "Who has done this thing?" And when they had inquired and asked, they said, "Gideon, the son of Joash, has done this thing." Then the men of the city said to Joash, "Bring out your son, that he may die, because he has torn down the altar of Baal, and because he has cut down the wooden image that was beside it." So, you see, that's how bad they were. They wanted to kill him. He was going to be a martyr here. And, that's how intense this stuff got. And that's how much of a demonic portal is open when they worship false gods. That's why it gets so heated, So, anyway, that's what instead of the right thing, they want to do the wrong thing here. And he tries to fix it by what God told him to do. And they want to kill him. And then they wonder why they're in trouble. What could it be? I have no idea. Okay. So, yeah, that's what God told him to do. And it was his own father who had built this thing, this Baal thing. Okay. So Joash, which is the father, said to all who stood against him, "Would you plead for Baal? Would you save him? Let the one who would plead for him be put to death by morning. If he is a god, let him plead for himself, because his altar has been torn down." Therefore, on that day, he called him Jerubbaal, and that means, where did it go? Let Baal plead. Like, let him plead for himself. Oh, brother. Yeah, saying, "Let Baal plead against him, because he has torn down his altar." Then all the Midianites and Amalekites, at least his father stood up for the right things here, that's good. Okay, then all the Midianites and Amalekites, the people of the east, gathered together, and they crossed over and encamped in the valley of Jezreel. But the Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon. Then he blew the trumpet, and the Abiezrites gathered behind him. And he sent messengers throughout all Manasseh, who also gathered behind him. He also sent messengers to Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali, and they came up to meet them. So there was going to be a war, right? Okay, and then this thing, the sign of the fleece, is just, he asked for a sign. Gideon asked for a sign. And then that the fleece would be wet and everything around it would be dry, and it's shown to him. And then the opposite, that the fleece is dry and everything else around it is wet, and then that happens. So he gets his two signs that God is with him. Okay, so he needed a little encouraging there. So that happened. Here. Then Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, and all the people who were with him rose early and encamped beside the wall of Herod, so that the camp of the Midianites was on the north side of them by the hill of Moreh in the valley. And the Lord said to Gideon, "The people who are with you are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands, lest Israel claim glory for itself against me, saying, my own hand has saved me. See? Now, therefore, proclaim in the hearing of the people, saying, whoever is fearful and afraid, let him turn and depart at once from Mount Gilead. Okay, so here's what happens is they narrow it down in different ways so that there's only a certain group. Let me see, find that spot. Yeah. Here. Then the Lord said to Gideon, by the 300 men I will save you. Okay, so after all this, they boil it down to 300 men. And deliver the Midianites into their hands. So anyway, they get ready for war, and the 300 men. All right, now this gets interesting here. It happened on the same night that the Lord said to him, arise, go down against the camp, for I have delivered it into your hand. But if you are afraid to go down to the camp with Purah your servant, and you shall hear what they say. And afterward your hands shall be strengthened to go down against the camp. Then he went down with Purah his servant to the outpost of the armed men who were in the camp. Now the Midianites and Amalekites, all the people of the east, were lying in the valley as numerous as locusts, and their camels were without number, as the sand by the seashore in multitude. And you get the feeling he was a young man, Gideon. Anyway, and when Gideon had come, there was a man telling a dream to his companion. He said, I have had a dream. To my surprise, a loaf of barley bread tumbled into the camp of Midian. It came to a tent and struck it so that it fell and overturned, and the tent collapsed. Then his companion answered and said, this is nothing else but the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel. Into his hand God has delivered Midian and the whole camp. And so it was, when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and its interpretation, that he worshipped. He returned to the camp of Israel and said, arise, for the Lord has delivered the camp of Midian into your hand. Then he divided the 300 men into 3 companies, and he put a trumpet into every man's hand. With empty pitchers and torches inside the pitchers. And he said to them, look at me and do likewise. Watch, and when I come to the edge of the camp, you shall do as I do. When I blow the trumpet, I and all who are with me, then you also blow the trumpets on every side of the whole camp, and say, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. So Gideon and the 100 men who were with him came to the outpost of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch, just as they had posted the watch. And they blew the trumpets and broke the pitchers that were in their hands. Then the 3 companies blew the trumpets and broke the pitchers. They held the torches in their left hands and the trumpets in their right hands for blowing, and they cried, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. And every man stood in his place all around the camp, and the whole army ran and cried out and fled. When the 300 blew the trumpets, the Lord set every man's sword against his companion throughout the whole camp, and the army fled to Beth Acacia toward Zererah, as far as the border of Abel Meholah by Tabbath. So what happened was God set the enemy camp against itself. So they were fighting against each other, and that took care of the battle. I mean, Gideon's 300 men weren't even needed, right? They just needed to be there to blow the trumpets and shout that sentence. That was it. That was the battle. And so, I get a kick out of that. And the men of Israel gathered together from Naphtali, Asher, and all Manasseh and pursued the Midianites. Okay. Well, all right. Then he says, then Gideon sent messengers throughout all the mountains of Ephraim, saying, come down against the Midianites and seize from them the watering places as far as Beth Barah and the Jordan. And all the men of Ephraim gathered together and seized the watering places as far as Beth Barah and the Jordan. And they captured 2 princes of the Midianites, Oreb and Zeb. They killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb, and Zeb they killed at the winepress of Zeb. That's convenient. Anyway, they pursued Midian and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon on the other side of the Jordan. Okay, so basically they get the victory. Okay, I wasn't planning on getting to the details, but anyway, so that's what happened. They got the victory, and then here in chapter 8, is more of this kind of stuff going on with war and victory. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so he comes back victorious from battle. And, there's a little discord going on between some of them, the tribes and stuff, but anyway, they work it out. So, all right. It's just details like that. Oh yeah, and then this thing he does this thing. I don't know. He makes some kind of a statue, and it wasn't a good thing. So it wasn't an idol, but of all the things, anyway. Okay, thus Midian was subdued before the children of Israel, so that they lifted their heads no more. And the country was quiet for 40 years in the days of Gideon. Okay, and then Gideon dies. As soon as he was dead, the same thing happens again, Okay. Yeah, okay, and then this Abimelech thing. Some of these things are just, as I said, depressing. So, okay, that was the Gideon story. Now, this I did earlier. Let me see. Next would be, okay, Samson is next. And I'm going to make a separate one for Samson because that's its own thing. And I don't want this one to be too long. So go over there and talk about all that. Okay, here we go. I'll be right back.